It is 5:30 p.m. and I will call the meeting to order for our regular meeting of City of Oklahoma Council, Monday, July 14th. Everybody's had an opportunity to review the agenda. With respect to the consent agenda, are there any items that you'd like to see removed? I will bring one forward then for the first reading of bylaw 379.4, the tax penalty agreement bylaw amendment. Do we have any others? Councilor Dallas.
Make the motion to accept consent agenda as amended.
Thank you. Seeing others, please go ahead and vote. Unanimous, thank you. And with respect to the overall agreement, we have the changes, addition. Councilor Dallas.
Motion to accept the regular agenda as amended.
Thank you. See the lights on, so we proceed to vote on that as well, please. Yes, over. That was unanimous. It is, thank you. COI, just for clarification, and with respect to bylaw 379.4, I didn't want to bring this over just to highlight. I don't like these kind of cases to by unnoticed. Of course, we have to have that back down by bylaw amendment, and after reading it over 3 different times, is really the only difference is changing the wording with respect to the dates. Is that the only difference?
Yes, to clarify that when June 30th, the final day of June falls on a weekend, it's to clarify what happens in the event where the specified day falls on a weekend. We've had monitoring situations in my time here. Penalties have been charged or not charged, and they need to have been or not to have been because of probate. Business day lands, and then you're fine. Reversing charges is not necessary. That's all.
Which was basically the interpretation at the time. They were either like it or not. But,
yeah, interpretation or lack of clarity.
Okay. So it's not the amounts that are changing.
Correct.
Very good. Councilor Goostrap.
Thanks, Mayor Christie. I'll help you out there. I'll move that council give first reading to bylaw 379.4.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Further comments? Please proceed to vote. It's unanimous. Passed. So let's move right down to section 6, request for decision. Item 6.1 is the Home City Hall mural update. Holiday is here to present for the Home Arts Collection Committee and the chair.
All right, this is the follow-up and follow on from when we saw you in from when we saw you on April 14th. We just wanted to tell you where we're at, and I think it's clear for the people what we need from you. Okay, so the idea was why this timing now, and this building and this type of project was because that the building is getting all these improvements on the inside, and we had hoped to sort of brighten and diversify the surface of the building. So what we're looking for from you is input onto the recommendation we're going forward. We've picked an artist, a piece of art, and the location, the specific location of the building. All right, so we wanted the City Hall mural to portray the natural landscape as it was prior to the settlers coming into this area. And we know that both East and West and North and South Freehold commercial groups historically for Indigenous people. We wanted to create a sense of space and time through a depiction of this pre-contact natural environment, natural landscape. We also noted before, there's repeating, that obviously in the program of this city, we emphasize the settler history here in just contact history. And with about 10% of the Coleman and area's population self-identifying as Indigenous, it's time that they're being here 100% that unique history. So when we say Indigenous here, we're mostly referring to the Cree, pre-contact and post-contact Métis and Cree. All right. So Maureen has been really diligent about getting the requests for qualifications and putting out a notice for what this project was and for recruiting in specifically, not recruiting, but letting the other Indigenous artists all around the province know what we're doing here in the spirit of nothing about us without us. So we look for input from a lot of different sources, including sort of a short list of 12 of I believe to be the best Indigenous artists. So the proposal that we received back that the committee agreed on was from Gordon Wesley. And Gordon Wesley is a Stoney Nakoda. Stoney Nakoda is a group made up of 3 different sort of groups. It's Bears Paw, Chiniki, and Western First Nation. He's Chiniki, but he lives at Bighorn Reserve 144A, which is in Clearwater County. So it's just really close. He's an incredibly accomplished muralist. He's painted everything from utility boxes to garages, size of buildings to just, big concrete barriers. He's done it all. He's very familiar with different types of buildings, types of surfaces to paint on. He was highly recommended from the town of Okotoks, from the city of Canmore, the Stoney Nakoda Resort, the White Museum, and the Canadian Rockies Banff National Park. If you've recently been to Cave Basin, Banff, when you're looking at building, the cave is up here. He's painted those utility boxes off to your right, and they're like really big splashes of different bright colors, and they're really beautiful. I really love that, and they really enjoy it. It's really good work. So Maureen has talked to the people he's contracted with in the past, these key sort of places in this sort of these high impact, highly traveled tourist zones. And they have nothing but good things to say about this artist in terms of his how he communicates, the time frame, his materials, the longevity of the pieces he's done. So we feel secure in this artist. So the piece, so that's the artist part. That's what we're asking for your approval for. He sent us several different things that could go on any side of this south end of the building here. But the one the committee sort of settled on is one that would be particular to that wall right behind you, on the other side underneath Stephen Falls sign. It's a nice big chunk of wall, it's kind of like it looks like it. So he's gives a pencil sketch of what we do. It's called Eyes of Wisdom. It has, as you can see, the bison, the teepees, and an elder covering in the clouds. That's a real person. He was dancing in powwow in Warley just recently. And what we wanted here is this obviously shows sort of a pre-contact period, and it has senses of, you know, history being created and also travel and migration. So it had everything that we were looking for in terms of the themes, the indigenous themes we wanted to bring up because they're unique to this geographic region. So you can see that this is setting over between the teepees that over the medicine hills, and those hills are a sacred location. Buffalo travel through there all the time. He's rendered this in pencil, but of course it will be done in color, and you can see he's used color in those sample murals and paintings that sent along in the package. That's it. So Warren Wesley, that and color, and right behind you on that wall. That's what we're asking. So that's the recommendation. Take any kind of questions you might have.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. Thank you for this. I think the drawing is very interesting. I like it. Quick question: is it going to be done directly on the wall, or will it be done on boards that could be moved?
So that's our big rule as an committee, is that we're always going to use the stack on which is like a thin aluminum that paints full surface on top. And then you build like a 2x4 frame structure that's attached to the building, then you attach the dial onto that. So the artist has the option whether he wants to just get a piece of dial and paint them at home on the reserve, or if he wants to have them attached to the wall and paint them as they're there already. So it will be very long lasting and removable in case of something changes.
Great, thank you for that.
Thank
you, Mayor Creasy. I have the privilege, obviously, of sitting on this committee. I know that the committee has worked very passionately in this. It's gotten a lot of feedback from the community as well, lots of support. I can see lots in the stand, but in the gallery right now, the stands in the gallery right now. And again, that's really appreciated. It's really exciting when members of the public are also really excited about art and wanting to support the project. So I guess I would like to just go ahead and make that motion that is included in the memo, that council approve the recommendation of the Home Art Collection Committee to install a mural on the exterior south wall of council chambers as presented. And thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Will there be any utility in changing that motion to southwest? So that we know that it's that section and not that
I think
section.
that was very late in the presentation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
So, not to be the stick in the mud, but as I told you before, I'm not a fan of this. Perhaps not for reasons that are aware of, and I'll make it known publicly now. I have no problem with the subject matter or the artist, and I think that it would be so beautiful. I just wish it was in a place that's more appropriate, in my opinion. I don't like City Hall's spot here. We've spent many, many years coming up with very well thought out planned area for murals in downtown home to attract people to our business area. And having one located here, I think kind of takes away from that, in my opinion. As far as subject matter and the artwork, it's kind of beautiful, but that's the only reason why I would be supporting it.
Can I provide a rebuttal to that? Or
absolutely.
Okay. My sense of it is that the mural program was never to be limited to downtown. We were attempting to increase, visual interest, which this building needs a lot, but also just to reflect the history in general. So when I think about this road right here, there's 600 or 700. I don't know how many kids go to the high school. A lot. That are roaring up and down this road. A ton of kids come to the dancer studio right here. The football fields are there. The hundreds and hundreds of people visit. And I think it sort of shows, I mean, I'm not Indigenous myself, but certainly it would be important to me when I come out of downtown to see public art, places of public art represents my ancestral background. So I see what you're saying, that tourism is sort of a, if you will, they will come sort of thing, like I don't see that we're talking to the downtown, or even though that was probably maybe in the initial years of the program, the goal. So I say, I did one, like every building is, I did one, baby steps.
Did you, anybody have anything further? Good, please proceed, vote. Huge margin, 6-1 with yours truly.
Point
So thank you. Yeah, no, like I said, it's fine.
taken for sure.
Yeah. Director Anderson, and 612, the Community 75th anniversary project is next.
Evening, Mayor Christie and Council. I'm here today to present the Council approval and principle to support the Kinsman Club 75th anniversary project at Popo's Park. The club proposed to enhance the park with new pathways, gazebo, and commemorative features. The June 23rd council meeting, Kinsman presented their vision, which aligns with the city's priorities, community partnerships, and public space improvements. Popo's Park already holds recreational and historical significance for the community. Recently, investments at this site, nearly $200,000 for the new playground, and approximately $2,500 for the air ramp outside the southwest entrance of the park. The Kinsman proposed a phased approach, which cost estimates ranging from $24,000 to $38,000, depending on the level of build-out. This approach gives flexibility based on fundraising, project readiness, and partnership opportunities. Administration's role would be to support the project planning, ensuring alignment with municipal standards. The Kinsmen also have asked for assurance that their contributions will be recognized in a meaningful and long-lasting way. The administration recommends the using the municipal naming and sponsorship policy as appropriate mechanism for this. The sponsorship allows for in-kind contributions like park improvements, exchange for recognition without conveying land rights, restricting council's future decisions. The city will also be responsible for maintaining and managing the new park infrastructure. Increased public use is expected, leading to higher service demands, including priority 3 snow clearing, more frequent garbage collection, extra bins, potentially important function in the summer months. Planning and execution will involve coordination across multiple departments. So we're recommending 2 motions today. One, that council approve the Kinsman 75th anniversary project upgrades to Popo's Park, and direct administration work with the Kinsman committee on project planning with the city assuming ownership and the maintenance of the completed upgrades. And that council direct administration developed a sponsorship agreement with the Macomb Kinsman Club for the 75th anniversary Popo's Park Legacy project, according in accordance with the municipal sponsorship policy. Questions?
Thank you. Councilor Dallas.
Thank you, Mayor Casey. I don't have any questions in regards to this, so I can support this. And so I'm willing to make the motion, and then I need to touch on a few comments that were made during their original presentation. So we're just gonna readjust this to make that motion. Probably should have just got something else, but I'll make the first motion that council approve the Kinsman 75th anniversary project upgrades to Bowes Park and direct administration to work with the Kinsman Committee on project planning with the city assuming ownership and maintenance of completed upgrades. Okay, thank you. There were some comments made originally, and I'm not sure if this is places council to make these, but there was interest in them signing agreements where we would make promises that the parks would not be touched and change would not be made, just kind of based on some events that happened with the Kinsman involved. And I appreciate the willingness to invest in the community and the interest in these projects. I just find that a difficult stipulation to agree to. Community demand changes, public infrastructure changes, and although I understand their intent, I think that's a difficult thing to hold on to when we don't know what's going to happen in 25 years. And I think 25 years is a nice lifestyle of a project. 50 years is better, but it's really difficult for us to sit here and say, absolutely not. This is an untouchable space now in the future, and that's my one piece that I just like to not be included in that. But otherwise, I'm very grateful for the rest of this and excited to see it. And I think this will be a welcome addition to the community and the park space. We able to maintain it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dallas. It's a difficult situation to put council to try and bind councils for forever and ever against any particular part of the city. Like I said, those amenities are a reflection of the community. We can change from time to time. So I won't agree with what you said. And, once again, certainly appreciate all of the work that our community brings, especially put forward over for at least a half a century, right? For just the involvement in the city and after longer than that. So, greatly appreciated. Councillor Mitra.
So I have two questions, kind of following up with that. First, addressing some of the concerns that the Recreation and Parks and Culture Board had, particularly about the lack of sidewalk to this particular playground. Does the city propose that in the future we'll look at that? Or so that's my first question, is addressing the playground. But my second question is in response to what Councillor Dallas is saying, does the municipal naming and sponsorship policy then replace this idea that the Kinsman wanted on title? Because we have addressed that here in the request for decision. I guess how does the policy address that idea of it being on title?
Director Allison, is that one that you wanted to go actually light on here by saying without it? Go ahead.
So it would not register. This would be a similar situation to, say, a curling club. The curling club is the title sponsor for that facility, which is city owned, but the curling club does so its maintenance and operations on significant investment under. Like, that's contributed by the community group, and they may run programming of that facility. There's a sponsorship policy to cover that contribution, which can come in the form of operations or direct financial contributions like Gary Cole, or in this case, our infrastructure that's being introduced. But that answers the question.
Well, I asked a question about the sidewalk. What's our plan in the city for that?
So, refresh our memories, was it a sidewalk or a street crossing to get two sidewalks on the trail?
I'm just going by the document that we were given here. It says that the board was concerned, this is Recreation Parks and Culture Board, is concerned about the lack of sidewalk between the school and the park, noting it is a potential safety issue.
Excuse me, see the guy?
Nothing in the current capital budget to go sidewalk. Noted there.
Councilor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. Questions directed to CEO Gowdy. Is this specific, is municipal reserve, and our previous meeting, there are guidelines on a municipal reserve that cannot be changed and so forth under the MGA. I thought you explained that at a previous meeting. Changing my questions for the municipal reserves, would that give the kids some peace of mind, and just limitations that as a city we have to follow under the MGA in the first place?
Yes, so there's 4 named. This is Crystal Reserve and Crystal Government section 672 section 2. It's to allow the purposes of public park, public recreation area, school board purposes, whereas between different uses. So that would provide some assurance that there's at least a process that would have to be gone through to substantially change the land use. However, there are paths, as you know, to take the municipal reserve designation off a piece of land. And I think if I was a contributing member of the Kinsman Club, I might also say, well, public park is a broad definition that can include anything from a skateboard park to playground to, you know, if we want to say it, or some sort of like consultation if it's changing from what it is today, not just legal definition of land use, but what the average person would consider a change in land use.
Is in fact something like that may occur in the future. Be able to input through hearing as well.
Would be if you were changing it from municipal reserve destination. But you could say build basketball courts on there or a baseball ground with no consultation. Typically, I think there would be consultation with the sponsor of the facility, but there's no legal obligation to have a public hearing to change within that park designation.
Which is fair enough. I mean, just an organization themselves could potentially just like that. What's going on?
Thank you, Chris. I think that particular site, the uses are limited in regards, because I remember my first year in council, I wanted to be the splash park over there. And I was told, well, you know, that's for landfill. So they did not move. So I mean, I think there's that parcel is very weak in and of itself, just for that very reason.
Anyone else? So we need motion that was made by Councilor Dallas. See the next one, so proceed to vote, please. The motion that council approve the Kinsman 75th Anniversary Project upgrades Locals Park and direct administration of the Kinsman Committee on project time. City of New Marshall maintenance of the duties or obligations was accepted unanimously. Councilor Howard.
Thank you, Chris. I'll make that second motion. And council direct administration develop sponsorship agreement for the Former Kinsman Club for the 75th anniversary Football Park Legacy Project in accordance with the municipal naming and sponsorship policy.
You. Questions or comments on that motion? Very well, please proceed to vote. Apparently, it's accepted unanimously. Next room. Director Thompson, item 6.3, the request to share cost of paving on Sunset Way.
Thanks, Eric. Christine Gage, council, just to follow up to the early right. Although there's not a sidewalk being constructed in front of Compost Park, we are constructing a narrow ramp. Sorry, it works already. Recognizing that that was the deficiency. Major capital, so that was something that was mentioned. So I just want to. But the item before council is follow up the decision that council made in May of 2022 when council approved the paving of Sunset Way on the condition that it be done entirely at the proponent's cost. Since then, the proponent has submitted 2 new requests. One, that the city contribute 1/3 of those paving costs and for $13,000 in real world terms. And that the city entered into a negotiation to sell a small parcel of land located between 59 and 4860 Avenue Close and 37 Close. We'll start with the paving request. From the administration's perspective, the original conditions around the council decision of 2022 remain unchanged. The road serves 2 properties. There are no current plans to upgrade this road. The gravel surface does continue to perform well, given the existing traffic volumes. And paving this road would create future maintenance and life cycle obligations for this very low volume roadway. And with that in mind, administration recommends that council reaffirm its original decision and proceed with paving only if it's funded in full by the proponent. That said, should council wish to consider a cost share, the city's local improvement tax does provide guidance. For local roadway paving, the policy apportions 90% of the cost to benefiting property owners, with 10% contributions from the city. Using that formula, the city's contribution would amount to $4,000. Alternatively, the proponent has requested a 1/3 contribution, which council could authorize as well. Introducing any city contribution at this stage would be on budget. With respect to the land acquisition request, the proponent has asked to purchase a small parcel of land. It's a 0.09 acre parcel, which created in 2004 through a road closure bylaw. It contains both a grass trail and recognized in our trail maps and a city water line. Water line would require a permanent easement if the parcel were sold. The assessed value of this land is about $70,000. The actual market value, though, is likely lower due to the parcel size, its limited development potential, the need for the water line easement. And although the parcel is not currently designated a public utility lot, it functions as one today. Administration's recommendation on this item is that council retain ownership of the land, but initiate a redesignation of the land as a utility district under the land use bylaw and register a formal public utility lot designation on the title through Alberta Land Plans. That said, if council sees merit in exploring a potential sale, we'd ask for authorization of up to $15,000 to complete the necessary due diligence around the land sale. This would include an independent appraisal, preparation of legal documents, registration of the easement, and rezoning requirements. Any sale would be subject to standard conditions brought back to council for approval. We look forward to council's discussion and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Sorry,
Yes, sir, Chrissy. Did you say 15,000 or 10,000 to do all this work?
For the due diligence?
Yeah.
I said up to 15,000.
Okay, I just need to, so if we sold this little parcel of land to this landowner, what stops him from working? And you can see it currently is used quite a bit for trails.
So commissioners want to refer back from letter to be more important that they were wanting to pave a trail, but would consider purchasing the land. Quite honestly, rather than the $15,000 for a good look sign this property, I would much rather see that what was worth paving and spend more. An engaged landlord who seems to be willing to pay for the lion's share of work. And I find it odd that most areas of the city demand paving, at least an apron onto roadways, and yet we have one of our own that has not. It seems quite odd to me. The pricing was outlined here. Taken at face value, it seems bargain when you compare to other city capital projects. And I realize that this is not perhaps to a city standard with better that kind of thing, but I think it's extremely reasonable, especially when that apparently seems to include the pathway, which would be well, so I can get that cleaned up and get that the right way. Looking a little more like to see my others. Some of the photos did not look great. Sorry, bullets.
Thank you, Mayor Casey. Just quite a question regarding the maintenance of that stretch of road there. I assume that the base is not up to road standards, is that correct?
The council have always been short answers. We have to touring, assess the base. Allocate parking. If it were a city project, then I'm sure that the pavement base structure wasn't better standards, but pavement itself was to our standards, and we really want to maximize the life of a road. So if these kind of considerations were debated in 2022 and ultimately council decided to allow paved our main concerns is the ongoing expectation that the maintained as a paved road once it's been paved at any standard. And while this version of the generation of roadway would be contributed or paid by the component, that road will be very full of our maintenance, and it is something that the city will likely have to face.
So if they paid to have it paved, would we be doing that testing before the construction? Yeah. We would just then we would take forward responsibility for the maintenance of that road without knowing what the base is.
As anybody is willing to pay for putting a base that's been tested and it's in good shape to do so, that would seem very odd.
And if I just follow up, that the road appears to be in good shape. It appears to be in good shape, and the fact that in 2022 when we discussed this, we had indicated that our recommendation was to allow foreign to use because it was low risk. That even though there is a future obligation of the city to maintain this road, and council can decide if they want to maintain it at a paved standard or not. That's a decision the city can. But but we felt that it wasn't something that was a big red flag. It was something the base is failing now. It's going to be our in 5 years or something. And so we're just reaffirming our previous recommendations to the council and allow the owner to pave the road council that they're not on track.
Councilor Dallas.
Thank you, NPC. Yeah, I guess I'm not super interested in paving that, and I guess the one reason is this one of the benefactors that also does not contribute to financially in property taxes, is my understanding. But and then the pathway, I don't have any interest in paving that there. There are several paths to the west of that are on Westview that are just grass paths. And I think as long as they're signed appropriately, people are comfortable using it. And we don't need to pave that small section for people to get through there. That's just my thoughts on it.
Director Thompson, just out of curiosity, is, when you say maintenance, is snow removed on that, on Sunset Way to the church currently?
It's a target 3-year-old, so we.
As far as that, Councilor Conick.
So you increase, sorry, just to Councilor Dallas's comments, does that property not fall within city boundary?
Sorry, I didn't mean the resident, I meant the church property. I'm not sure who pays.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I thought you. Sorry, I just would follow. Yeah, I guess I don't see how I'm just contributing a little bit to that, get it done with, but I would agree with Councilor Dallas, no interest in doing anything with that path. I think we should maintain that. I agree with the second motion that should remain the facility right away and the standard that it's in. Maybe we need to cut it if I haven't, to be honest, I haven't seen it, so I don't know what kind of sheet it's in, but I can get on board a $13,000 contribution to the pay subsidy.
Councilor Ross.
Go ahead. No, that's fine. Go ahead. Or councilors. Would you first?
Councilor Ross.
Oh, yeah. I was going to make a motion of C that council agrees a contribution of 13,133 cents a way funded from the general capital reserve.
Councilor Trudeau.
Thanks for the Tracy. I did want to state that I support the idea, like when we have a citizen like this who wants to pave an area. I guess I was going to follow the local improvement tax policy. I'm not sure what's their basis for the third. That was from May 2022. What's our basis for going for a third rather than just following our local tax agreement policy?
I'm not really sure the answer for that one. And is it a number of funds that would happen to be their performance estimate? That's why I think it's best to have maximum of the city contribution. But it's not even cost more than that. City is supposed to say one third. It's an actual dollar figure count. And I believe that did because the trail halfway did it not.
Very basic. My understanding is the proponent, because the proponent was interested in the land to enclose it and evaluated it to the property, that it wouldn't include paving path. And then that $40,000 cost estimate was for Sunset Way, just the road, and then discussions with the proponent, that they were in the one thing there.
So there's no confusion there. The letter to the city of Macomb We'd also like permission and assistance to install a bike path on the section between the two streets rather than named apparent, and very close, or to discuss purchasing that land. So that's what I think you recently suggested that was very effective. And if the city was interested in doing it at all, they would also like to pursue purchasing land. From what I see here, I don't think there really is any desire to sell the property. So we're all on the same page.
I mean, that's it. So what our recommendation to make the property PUL, public utility lot, may not, it would be upgraded at grass to gravel with that sort of. We haven't had that conversation with the proponent, the same way by installing a path. We did kind of what centers the expectation there. But certainly, depending on council's decision, and follow up with that kind of thing. Figure out what you're.
And that's fair enough. Perhaps I read a little more into it, given the recent fact the grass path there now. They wouldn't have asked for permission for something that already exists. Therefore, what I would have assumed would have been paid like they're on proposal through the road. Councilor Gibbs.
Thank you very Chrissy. I just have a question and a couple comments. One question would be around the sale of the property. Would that be something where we would do a standard procedure where we're putting it out to the general, or would this be a special agreement with that adjacent landowner? So for example, the house to the south of that property could potentially be interested in that property. And then we think that they would also have the ability to purchase that as well from the city for putting it up on the market. So that get some clarification on that.
That would be part of the procedural due diligence that we would undergo to ensure that we're in compliance with the NPA and the normal course of business and selling land. There's certain requirements from public hearings, we're selling the land below market value. But we want to follow up with our legal counsel for the procedure for this needs.
Thank you. And then just further to the comment, when this was brought up a few years ago, I'm just going to point out that I did vote against something very similar that was proposed at the time. And I guess I just want to elaborate as to why I will be voting against this motion as well. We did do something similar to this in the industrial section for a reason there was economic development benefit. In this case, I'm having a hard time believing that there's really any benefit other than we're going to absorb another cost going forward. So as much as I, obviously don't want to be a hindrance to, residences in our community, I just feel like this is just something that I can't justify. Like it's a minimal dollar investment at this point in time. But when it comes time for renewal, et cetera, we've just absorbed something that's just absolutely unnecessary. And I think, frankly, in my opinion, irresponsible. So I will be voting against it. I just wanted to elaborate on as one reasoning why that is. And yeah, I think that's my point. Thank you.
Anyone else? Just out of curiosity, then the figure that was put forward in the motion was $13,000. What is that represent? About 16 months worth of property tax on a proponent's property.
I don't have the tax for me right now, but certainly there would be the property that appears to be by them.
Thank you. Very good. The legislative coordinator reviewed back the revenues benefits.
Motion for like PPS is that council approves a contribution of $13,133 to pay Sunset Way under the public general.
Thank you. Any further comments or concerns? Councilor Luttrell.
Thanks for Chrissy. So there's two different numbers in here. It says 333 in one spot, so it's 133, 13,133. Okay, just making sure.
Please proceed to vote. Looks like your Christmas tree are also ready green on that, so that is a margin of 4-3. Councilors Gibbs, Hoekstra, and Ellis voting no on that. Thanks, everyone. Director Halverson, you're up again. Item 6.4, Birthplace Forest. Please reconsideration.
Good evening, Mayor Council and PC. Here to present recommendations for the phasing of Birthplace Forest following direction from Council at the June 23rd meeting. Birthplace Forest program began in 2007 and since created a valued space for families to remain commemorating diverse. In February 2025, Council approved the expansion west of the existing pathway in Lincoln Park as phase 2 and Browns Pond as phase 3. At the June 23rd open forum, residents expressed concerns about suitability and aspects of expanding west. Council subsequently requested a revised phasing plan for consideration. So the current phasing is phase 1 is where it is, phase 2 is to the west of the path, and phase 3 is Browns Ponds. Proposed phasing is no change for phase 1, obviously, because it's completed, and phase 2 would be the northeast of Browns Pond, and phase 3 would be completely from the phasing. So the motion, pending motion on the floor, is that Council approve. This is from the 2024 council meeting. Council approved the expansion of the Birthplace Forest west of the path to current locations situated east side of Block 1 MR, Block 5, Plan 922-2219 as phase 2, and then additionally that Lot 1R, Block 6, Plan 2219, located northeast of Browns Pond, redesignated as phase 3 of the Birthplace Forest. Amending motion is that expansion to the west of the path at the current location, situated east of MR 1MR, Block 5, and 2022-2219 as phase 2 be removed, and that Lot 1R, Block 6, Plan 922-2219 located northeast of Browns Pond, redesignated phase 2 of the Birthplace Forest.
Please, Director Halverson. There was one item that was not on our board. Do we have any idea when path was paved through the Birthplace Forest? Councilor Gillespie.
Thank you, Mayor. Was there any? Is there any future expansion of this other areas of town in considered? City issues.
Not at the moment.
And will that one tree that's on the west side of the sidewalk be removed?
Yeah, it will.
Why? I like the little tree sitting over there by itself. I'm totally against this. I think this is terrible. I think the number of trees that go in there and how many years it takes to fill that area. We can go all the way along the sidewalk. Do something special, but I'd like to see the trees stay there.
Councilor Palace.
Thank you. I guess reading back through the previous request to change to this location and seeing that the other grounds were suitable with old railroad ties and other materials in there. I guess I have no idea how that was, but I assume that information was brought forward because it was relevant. And I look around at a map of this area and I do see other additional green spaces in relative close proximity to this. I do believe it is an incredible privilege to just be able to walk up through that door and have a green space forward to be able to use, but that is not the case for everybody. And as I maybe alluded to earlier, spaces do change and their needs and their functionality do adjust. And I would prefer to keep it where we started planting now and leave the other side open as a visual viewpoint as you're moving through the community. And I guess to me personally, it doesn't matter if it's on one side of the road or the other. I believe information was brought to us to make this decision. We started that decision, and there was also I struggled to see the validity of concern with forest fires only being close to these trees being placed there. There are different kind of trees that typically burn like that. There is a fire break with the alleyway and setbacks in your yards. And so I guess just some of those concerns I don't believe, but so I am not interested in changing the location again. Thank you.
Thank you. Steel Gunny.
It's a minor clarification, but you mentioned railroad ties. I don't believe that railroad ties, there's no road. Oh, that's not that's part of the Fisheries Road, but not railroad ties that I'm aware.
Yes.
Thanks for that clarification. I was kind of wondering if that was that, but so for me, I gotta say, I didn't find this a little odd. We have a birthplace forest there. I would have expected there's a reasonable expectation that would involve trees in a forest. However, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and obviously some of the landowners there received assurances from the toll from and town administration that would not be that on the one side of or the west side of the trip. So I do feel obligated to at least follow through with that expectation. In saying that, not unlike our designation of that local park, expectation is that one day, you know, the house ownership there will change, and at that time, within the time period, maybe there will probably end up being trees. However, for the foreseeable future, I can see it move on to the proposed new phasing and uphold the promises made to those landowners who felt strong enough to appear here and plead the case not to have any more trees planted in for this forest. All up on the Councillor Hilton's comments, I too would prefer if the trees are currently stay in place. It's enough work and expense for the city. Not these months, we need to be moving one tree. Councillor Triff.
Thanks, Tracy. I was wondering, I don't totally understand what the actual motion is for tonight, so if I could get some clarity around, if we've got our original motion, our landing motion, and the meeting motion, what is the motion that is being proposed tonight?
Sorry, if you're in my place in the location of phasing of the birthplace forest. Currently, I would be on the west side of the pathway separating the area to the north. Sorry, to the west of the cemetery property. And this proposed phasing, there'd be no more trees planted there. Move across the road in the south. Or in line with Burns Pond area. Is that a fair statement, Director Albers?
Yeah, that's perfect. And is to remove the phase 2 from the current phase and make phase 2 across. South across the way.
Follow up, Councilor Kern. See how about
Functionally, that is all accurate. The actual mechanisms of it are such that prior meeting, Councilor Hibbs initiated a motion to reconsider this motion from February 24th. So that basically brings that motion back to the deck. It's now here. And that motion was the phasing of the day. And then now that this is here, looking for an amended motion, which is A, that's A, that's going to modify the different areas of what's going to be phase 1, phase 2, the new way. And then we will come back to that amended motion. That we can cancel.
Councilor Hawk?
No, I was looking for clarification too, so I think that answers my question.
Very good. Councilor Hoopster?
Okay, I'll make the motion, but I don't still understand whether I need to do the main motion as amended. I only need to do the amending motion, correct? Okay, thank you. Sorry, I did not address you, sir. Thank you, Mayor Creasy. I will move that the expansion to the west of the path at the current location situated on the east side of Lot 1 MR Block 5, Plan 922-2219 as Phase 2 be removed, and that Lot 1R Block 6, Plan 922-2219 located northeast of Browns Pond be designated as Phase 2 of the birthplace forest. And may I add something to that motion?
It's your motion.
And that no trees be removed.
Thank you for that motion. You got it. Sorry. No worries. So I think everybody has the essence of the motion, given the legal land descriptions that was recently, or the way that so everybody understands where it's been here. That's what you're obviously very happy with the this now.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Please proceed to vote. There was a few votes there that didn't take.
I have more than that. So it's a legal right.
It doesn't have that conditional.
So it's truncated up there on the screen, I believe, on your machines. You should be able to slide it across to read it in its entirety. For coordinator available, read it, which is there anybody that would like to reread or no? No. All good, very good. Well, it must be reloaded. That is pass. 5 to do, councilors Bullockson and Dallas opposed. Thanks, everyone.
So here, do we have to have that other? Because it's pretty clear to me that phase 2 is now next. It's going for emotions, correct? Or
No, believe that. Should have the next one. Oh, makes sense.
That was just the amendment.
Coordinator Bellwell.
Thank you, increase, yes, just to clarify that the motion you just forwarded on was the amending motion to amend the original one, and then I would be voting on the main motion as amended.
It is, but
Councillor Buck.
So, so move then, the council approve the expansion of the birthplace forest to lot 1R.6 by 9222 of the Northeast Runs Pond. And we designate space to in this place.
Thank you. Coordinator Belmore.
Sorry, I need to clarify. The original motion was made by Councillor Hibbs on February 24th, which we considered at the last meeting. So the original motion is Councillor Hibbs' motion. So now we made the amendment. Now we're just voting. If the amendment just passes.
So that's understood.
So Councillor, just for the record, could you just withdraw that last motion? Thank you. Was written in the record, so yeah, we'll get this right. The original motion then is references to Coordinator Belmore.
So the amended motion passed. The motion that we're voting on is the main motion as amended. That council approved the expansion of the birthplace forest to lot 1 on block 6 by 922-2219, located northeast of Bruce Pond, and that be designated as phase 2 of the birthplace forest, and no trees, and not one trees being removed.
So there are two motions.
Is everyone okay with that? Is that good sound? We're getting up the right pitch, we're done here. Very good. And Councillor Crockett, were you prepared to make that motion? Councillor Gibbs.
Thank you, Mayor Christie. Because I had moved that we would reconsider this motion, it still is my motion, and so that's why it's attributed to me. Of course, we've gone through the process of amending my motion, which I also supported along with most of you as well. So now we're going, the reason why this is different is because we published the amending motion, which we typically don't do, and that's why it's confusing, because it looks like it's being repetitive. But this is no different than just simply, I made a motion and somebody else made an amendment on it. And now that amendment has passed, now we're going back to the now amended main motion to either approve it or not. So this is different from my original motion that was done in February, because now we've changed where phase 2 is, but it's still my motion technically, although it's been altered by all of us. And so that's where it is. So even though I haven't read it out loud, it is my motion now amended. If you vote in favor of it, that means that the phase 2 will now be a different location than we had originally decided at that February meeting.
Appreciate it. I guess we'll do that. Good, is that motion? Councillor Dallas, go ahead.
Thank you. So it is clear that lot 1MR is a different location than lot 1R, even though the rest of the lot and plan numbers are the same. Those are, even though they're on separate sides of the road, just as long as one's called 1R and one's called 1MR, it's are different locations. Okay, amazing, thank you.
I think the MR was used for survey, so yeah, so that's just a destination.
We will be following with a second key on this one. That's all correct. Yeah. No, okay, well then I'll just make my comments now. I guess I struggle with this, and so we have this birthplace forest anyways, forest, and I'm just sure hope nobody comes back and doesn't want any trees there people don't like our trees on two-way, and we have to find alternative locations for them as well. I struggle with this, I told it to improve it, but since there is no option, every place is for this forest now, we will improve it.
Your comments, but hopeful well that the administration is not constant and trees need for this. The next thing I knowledge. Hard to say there's people's. It's proceedable. With respect to the workplace forest trees, it is voted unanimous. I agree with that. Thank you. And next up, item 6.5. It is the council motion, last motion, previous meeting of June 23rd. Councilor Cobb.
Thank you, Mayor Christie. Before I go on, our CEO has some information, regarding my motion first.
Anybody?
Thank you. Before you begin debate on this motion, I'd like to clarify a legal issue that's come to my attention since assisting Councilor Connor in drafting this motion. The original motion, which again I assisted in drafting, directs administration to enter into an encroachment agreement for encroachments between municipal reserve parcels. However, Section 672, Sub 2 of the Municipal Government Act limits the allowable uses of municipal reserve land for specific purposes, as a reference to this. A public park, public recreation area, school board purposes, or as a buffer between different land uses. Unfortunately, permitting private encroachments by way of formal agreement is not among those allowable purposes. That means the original motion as for it's technically out of order, cannot be acted upon as a current forum. That's my oversight, and I want to acknowledge that. That said, if council still wishes to provide direction to administration on how to handle these minor encroachments, there is a lawful path for it. A member of council, the original member, may propose an amending motion to replace the original language. To replace the original language allows administration to enter into encroachment agreements by adding 4 other arrangements. This broader wording does not presume an outcome conflicts with the act. It gives administration discretion how to manage the issue within existing legal boundaries. If such an amendment is moved and passed, I will continue to monitor the situation and respond appropriately if conditions change, but I do not intend to proactively pursue enforcement unless it becomes necessary. In short, the original motion as drafted conflicts with the MGA. The amended motion will allow council to provide direction without stepping outside the law.
Thank you for that. The MGA is not perfect in that she just their justification, especially our tracts of land, where it's basically removes that designation altogether. First agreement basically sell land to a private individual. On these more minor ones, it's unfortunate because I think it is for good intent. However, say some variance of the path forward, and I appreciate that. Councilor Tomic.
So thank you, Mayor Christie. I sent an email earlier today. I meant to send that email sooner. I hope you all saw it. Just to give you an idea of the properties in question. This came to my attention when the owners had sold them their home 2023. At that time, he was a smart individual. He got a new RPR at that time. And that RPR revealed that there was an encroachment of the fence 0.6 meters. That's roughly 0.6 meters. I said to him at that time, this, so now you know 2 things will happen. Either he has to move the fence or not. Sure enough, we're tracking their issue with encroachments. And about a year later, a bit, he received a letter out from the city saying he must move the fence. So it came to me, and I discovered, of course, at that time that this not only affects him, it affects a number of families. And I just thought it was, you know, I've been here 20 years. That fence has been there 20 years, if not longer. And now all of a sudden, it's an issue. And I think it's especially owners, for those landowners to be expected to move that fence so we gain this much more grass cut. Because that's what we noticed. And as I alluded to in my email, it's kind of, it would have been so much easier if town council back they, and they did that subdivision, did not designate that area as MR, but of course we did that without meet its requirements. We gave into the developer, really that should have always been going on right from the get-go. And here we are. So I respectfully ask you on behalf of these landowners just to, as per my motion to, although there will be many motions now, to just consider, well, I guess it's not an approach for anything because CEO got to allude to, we can't do that, but just to proceed with the motion and the amending motion to allow the city to just exercise discretion and not enter into or enforce upon moving the fence. Again, it's I understand, I am fully supportive of going after, we've done it already in major encroachments, but this one, it's so minor, it affects for one person maybe, but it affects a number of people. And again, it's this much that we're asking them to move the fence. Going forward, of course, should they, you know, and I think that's probably maybe some of the language going forward that we created them saying, look, we're not going to ask you to move the fence. However, if it comes a point where it has to, through repair or whatever needs to be replaced, well, then you need to put it on the proper property or on the property line. But in the here and now, until then, I think it would just be, I don't, like I said, I find it especially all those people's owners. It's not cheap to move a fence, especially when it's been there for as long as I've been here, and probably much longer. So again, I'm not clear on how this would work, if I would make that motion or I make the amending motion. So I just need some clarification there, but we can discuss this. Thank you.
Thank you. Starting with, I understood the CEO Gotti, that's to the public, there was no interest in pursuing action on these properties.
I was providing an amendment. It was notice of motion that would accomplish that.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Councilor Bach, you said an interesting thing about the landowners there secured a new RPR.
This wasn't one.
Are you suggesting that the previous RPR did not show the fence in the correct place, or there was not an RPR?
There was an RPR present. We don't know where, and that's in my line of work. Half the time when that property goes up for sale, the landowner has an RPR, half the time they do not. And sometimes you can get it from the city, sometimes the city doesn't need that. So.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah.
So he secured an RPR, not a new RPR. That suggests there already was one in place. That's what kind of threw me and thinking, you know, was wrong on the RPR. So that's kind of a general fish if that was the case. Yeah, so there wasn't one in place. Now there is. Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Thanks for increasing. So is this motion necessary at all? Because it truly hasn't been read informally tonight. It was just a notice from last meeting. So what administration is suggesting is that any different than what they're basically doing now? Like why would we have to even go forward with this motion?
See you about it.
Because right now we have initiated enforcement action on these properties due to their ineligibility for a cordial agreement, but unfortunately that exists. I also think it's important to point out this isn't a situation where someone has to go on the fence and they've taken a consistent 2 feet, 0.6 meters of extra space because of the way the road is at this location. It's a curved line, so building a fence on the curve is really expensive. So edges, it gets out that 0.6 meters. It's not a full consistent 0.6 meters.
So if you can give the council to type that issue to the city line, I think it it's important for us to go through this, painful as it is. I hear what you're saying, Councilor Hoosdriver, but to go through this now publicly so that it doesn't appear that the that our administration is choosing specific properties to enforce on as they see fit. It is coming from council, certainly the appropriate thing to do. Councilor Lotzen.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. That was my concern, is setting a precedent. Is there any concern in the administration about doing this, setting a precedent? Or in the future, you find other encroachments, they say, well, you did it there. Why are you coming after me?
The use of this thin strip of MR as either a buffer between the road and the residential component or as de facto road widening space for the future is pretty 100% unique in the community. I look for that, but it'd be very rare. So I don't see there being a bunch of similar situations. Most times, these homeowners will be back on the roadway. Roadways you can enter into encroachment agreements. This would be coming here, we're going to sign encroachment agreements. So I don't think it actually sets a precedent that it's likely to be repeated elsewhere.
Thank you, Mayor Creasy. I'm just going back actually to a comment that Councilor Hoosdriver made. I guess like it has not been read into the record yet technically. Is this really that amendment that's proposed? Is it really changing the motions? I feel like what this motion is essentially asking is for us to be able to accommodate these encroachments regardless of how. And so by adding a few words so that it's not specific to encroachment agreements, but could just be, you know, any number of tools, does that really require a amendment type? I guess, in my opinion, I think that Councillor Connick should just be able to read in the motion that's so close to the original and not have to do an amending motion. I guess that would be my question to maybe the legislative coordinator, but that would just be my opinion.
Given this was a very specific area of the city. That too is up.
Yes, but legislative coordinator Bellabon did provide that exact option to me. That is an option. I just felt it got too where it was very motions that I want to raise and say, but yes, absolutely. If Councillor Connick would prefer rather than add it to the motion, that's what was a motion, to just read it in different. We believe that that will also make them play.
We give you a gold star if it chose to.
I have some assistance with these things. Yeah, I would certainly make the motion then that council grant the CEO authority to enter into encroachment agreements or other arrangements with properties bordering the west side of legal address 7823298 131 FR if they are not major encroachments as we define in the encroachment bylaw, specifically to consider encroachment agreements or other arrangements for encroachments less than 1 meter into the MR on the odd numbered homes between number 3 and number 29 Willow Crest.
Thank you. And the or other arrangement satisfies the intent of the MG.
Yes.
Councilor Dallas.
Thank you, very easy. Just maybe I missed this, but would this be actually a difficult situation with the MR for that strip? Just curious if it, I'm curious about the other aspect of just go that way and we're not in conflict in the future with other people.
See you about it.
Yes, that is an option. you'd have to subdivide and then, no, sorry, yes. We subdivide and then remove the designation of the MR. The public hearing process, it's totally doable. It's kind of administratively burdensome versus essentially look the other way. This one.
It's also not expensive. Yes. Working before today. No, I'm not reading it. This concert products, so they did. See, need to have it reread. Please go ahead and vote then. Pushing about 6-1. Task. Something else. We know that. Next, section 7, notice of motion. Councilor Hibbs.
This is simply a notice of a motion, so I'll read it out, and that'll be all of the discussion tonight. Move that, I will put forward a motion that council schedule a committee meeting for Monday, September 29th, 2025, for the purpose of identifying and discussing key topics to be addressed in a future report on the potential restriction of heavy traffic on 50th Avenue between CD Trail and Highway 2A to encourage greater use of 34th Street overpass, which remains underutilized. The intent of the meeting is to provide council input on priority topics to guide the scope and focus of administration support Cathcart Board. And that would be expected to be brought forward at the next meeting.
Thank you. Do you have any of the traffic counts being done with this area? Back up some of the things. Be within that.
We will look for our most recent traffic counts.
Thank you. Great. Council does have a front of a camera items. So we are on the feed here. I will read our next meetings, and they are all regular council meetings. Of course, I'll hear council chamber at 5:30 p.m. on the following dates: Monday, August 11th, Monday, August 25th, and Monday, September 8th. And as I'm mistaken, I believe that leaves us with only the camera items. Councilor Dallas.
Peter KC, motion to move in camera.
It's 6:58. The record will reflect. Please go ahead and vote. Unanimously.